Welcome to aidbees. We are back with another exciting and intriguing podcast today. This is your host Ashutosh, welcoming all of you in the audiences watching. And today we have an inspiring sister and brother duo with us. We have Jaivir Gulati and Roshni Arora with us. Jaivir and Roshni, welcome to aidbees. We're really happy to have you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Before I move on in terms of discussions and what we're talking about today, let me tell you a little bit about Jaivir and Roshni. Jaivir is in grade 11 in Institut Les Rosés in Switzerland, and Roshni is studying in grade 12 in DPS International, Gurgaon. Both of them are the brains behind this brainchild called Fabrecreate, where they are practicing sustainability, where they're reaching out to the communities who are underprivileged, who need a cover on their head and maybe a sheet on their body. They're creating these jackets called hope jackets, which we will talk about more and get to know more about. And these hope jackets are coming from the textile waste, the fabric waste that industries generate. And Jaivir and Roshni, along with their team at Fabrecreate, are helping these underprivileged women by employing them to stitch these jackets. And furthermore, distributing it to children, homeless people, and people alike who need the support to have a sheet on their body. Fabrecreate has been on a wonderful journey so far, and we are really impressed and really proud at 8Bs to be hosting these two wonderful stars on our 8Bs podcast today. And we are speaking with them over sustainability, over the idea of what these hope jackets will do and how they will impact so many people across the country. Before we move on, I would like to congratulate Jaivir and Roshni on the initiative called Fabrecreate. And I would also like to inform our audiences that with 8Bs, they are on a mission to distribute over 250 Hope Jackets to underprivileged communities in Kashmir, Jaipur, and Delhi. So we'll be moving on and we'll be discussing a lot more about it. But before that, Javi, Roshni, how are you feeling today? How is it being at 8B's podcast?
It feels amazing, and we're really excited to be here and can't wait to get into the interview.
Thank you so much for that vast introduction. I really appreciate it. And I'm very excited to be here and to discuss all of the complexities and all of the initiatives that we have done as a team at Fabrecreate.
Great. So let's quickly jump into this discussion because I'm really curious to know, and I think the audiences are also very curious to know about what Fabrecreate is. Javid, could you take us through the journey and what event exactly inspired you to start with Fabrecreate? And also, if you could mention about what exactly is the Hope Jacket and what are you imagining?
Yeah. So I'd say there were two main reasons for me starting Fabricate. Firstly, because my family background is in apparel manufacturing, and the textile industry contributes to 10% of global carbon emissions every year, with 92 million tons of waste generated.
Right.
So I feel like it was kind of my responsibility to try and cure this. But also, a few years ago, I was watching the news about Ukraine and the war, and I felt helpless because I was young and I didn't understand the politics or the logistics of how to help these people and how they receive aid, you know. And then when the Israel-Palestine war started, I told myself, okay, you study in an international school, and I have a lot of friends who are like affected by these wars and because they live in these regions. So I decided to try and help these people by studying Fabrecreate. As of now, we're mainly focusing on Indian regions because in India, it's truly what's closest to my heart, and also um, it's pretty easy access, relatively easy access, since these places are close by compared to Gaza, which is also fully closed off, like politically. So initially, it was a slow process. I come back to India every few months from school, and I started to discuss the idea with my family. And I also started to accompany my father and grandfather to sometimes to the office. And I started to notice all the fabric that was being wasted in stitching and the process of manufacturing in general. So this kind of fit well where I was solving two problems pretty close to my heart with one solution, which is the Hope Jacket.
Great. Could you tell me a little more, Roshni? I'll take this with from you, like the journey of the Hope Jacket. How exactly is it made?
As Javi mentioned, if we're talking about the journey of the Hope Jacket, first we did have a global outreach towards it. However, now we're looking locally. So, the actual manufacturing of the jacket is done by unemployed women or any women who are in underprivileged, so that we are giving not only the individuals who receive this jacket a great sense of hope, but also those who create the jacket a sense of hope through financial independence and just a sense of dignity and pride. Other than this, essentially, the jacket is a come sleeping bag as well as a raincoat. The jacket is made of polyester on the outside as well as a warm lining on the inside. It extends down to the ankle length where it turns into a full raincoat. And then further on, there's also a drawstring at the bottom that can be tied to be made into a sleeping bag or sleeping pouch, accompanied by the hood, which has cushioning to act like a pillow.
That's wonderful, I think, because see, largely a problem that India faces as a crisis is homelessness, people sleeping on the streets, people, and especially in this winters, right? There's a lot of the weather is not so friendly enough for people who don't have a roof on their heads, I think. And I think a jacket that turns into a sleeping bag that also can be turned into a raincoat is multi sort of solutions packed into one. And it's really impressive that you explained the hope jacket like that to us. Um, Let me know, like, I want to know more about this aspect of employing women and who do you exactly employ? How do you sort of uh, go to the search for it, or how do you outsource this labor? Tell me a little more about the challenges that you face during the making of these jackets as well. Javier, we'll start with you.
So personally, I think Roshni is she's very knowledgeable about this, and as well, she's very passionate about this. But I can give a brief um, synopsis of how we employ women. So usually these women are not very skilled or knowledgeable about the craft and stitching. So we have a master G who's also taught me how to stitch, like the basics of stitching. When I started this jacket, when I was making the first few samples, and he's also helping teach these women how to stitch the jackets.
Right.
Right. So
Um,
if I
yeah.
were to get into the depths of it, so essentially, this idea of employing women who are unemployed. I mean, kind of contradiction, but employing women who are unemployed or these women who are not financially independent, and we see that these women honestly don't really have much hope in their lives. So this idea came about when we were really struggling to figure out how to manufacture these jackets. We had the idea in place, we had the vision, we had the mission. The question was just how. So to solve this, that's when we came up with this idea that why don't we make this a jacket that does not only serve as hope for one community, but also for another. That's when we came up with this idea. So the first initiative that we took is currently working with a self-help group. We are also reaching out to other self-help groups which have women who have been through the harshest of realities, and we are employing them by giving them sewing machines that are donated by our very kind mills and factories. And like Javi has already said, we have a Master G who comes and trains these women. And essentially, what we feel is we're not only training them and confining them to a job at Fabrecreate, but we're also giving them so many future possibilities and opportunities that they can work towards. They can join, they can start their own stitching, they can start their own passion, they can pursue their own thought processes, and they can actually use it as a way to embed their creativity and their personality into a product. Um, Also, to take it further, I want to say if we have to choose between creating more jackets and training more women, we will prioritize the training because we believe that it creates a ripple effect, which is what we had seen a lot. Because we see when a woman gains this financial independence, it does not only transform her as an individual, it transforms the lives of her families. It gives the young daughter at her house also hope. And other than that, it also makes them feel a little bit better because they have some monetary needs that they can sustain. So it's a delicate balance that we have, but we believe that when we lead with purpose, the right decision also follows.
Absolutely. That's actually wonderful because the way you are dealing with sustainability is not just one aspect, but multiple aspects. And I think that's where I'm going to go ahead with my next question. Javier and Roshni, you have been touching upon a lot of aspects of welfare, social welfare, and sustainability together, right? Starting from the fact that you are recycling and repurposing this fabric, you're taking textile waste into consideration. Then you're also getting to the idea of solving the crisis of homelessness. Then, lastly, you're also employing these women, as Roshni has very beautifully mentioned. Um, how do you navigate to, prioritizing these needs one after the other while making a decision? What comes after, what comes before in terms of maintaining that sustainability? Jaivir, I'd love to hear from you on this.
So at the moment, we're fully focused on our core mission, which is to solve two problems of displacement and pollution with one solution, which is the Hope Jacket. So I would say our priority remains to provide the warmth to these vulnerable children who are displaced and affected by these disasters. And especially over the next few months, since winter is around the corner, our aim is to reach as many disadvantaged communities as possible.
That's lovely, actually, because the season is on. I think all that we at 8Bs are also doing with our partner NGOs and even organizations like yourselves is reaching out to people, providing the winter essentials. Javi, you were talking about the dearth and the problems of these kids. Do you have any numbers to share? Would you like to share any data point in terms of the statistics of how big the problem is?
Yeah. So, as I mentioned before, 92 million tons of textile waste is generated each year. And just 1% of textiles are recycled. Um, Also, the level of displacement in countries, especially India, is huge since there's over 100 million children that are homeless or displaced around the world, and 50 million children, almost 50 million children, that are homeless. So, yeah, I think it's a very massive problem that we need to address, and I feel like it's my responsibility to address this since one of the aspects that I've already mentioned about Fabrecreate is that it's sustainability and upcycling. So since my family background is in all of this, I feel like I really need to address this problem.
Absolutely, and 92 million is a big number.
92
It
million
is.
tons. Huge.
It is very concerning. Roshni, I would like to hear from you the numbers in terms of how Hope Jackets and Fabrecreate is transforming these numbers. Maybe, how many have you distributed? Where all have you reached? If you could just talk to us about that.
So, till date, we have distributed over 700 jackets. This includes regions such as an organization that we partnered with called Doers, which was in Himachal following the cloudburst that had just occurred over there. Other than this, we've also gotten into contact with a few organizations in Rishikesh where we're trying to provide for the underprivileged children. And in fact, this organization itself does provide education to these underprivileged children. Hence, we feel it's a great way to collaborate with them and use their strengths and our strengths to create a better, more collective society. Moreover, we have upcycled about, I think, over 5,000 meters of fabric. We have received we receive about 1,000 meters of fabric from each mill that we connect with. That includes Shahi Exports, Ayushi Fabrics. Other than this, I believe 12,000 plus meters of surplus fabric has been uh, taken and also been converted. It is currently in the process of being converted into an additional 2,000 jackets for this winter. Other than this, I believe in terms of women, over 50 women have been empowered with this ability to create these jackets and to also learn their stitching and to be able to use their own creativity in their own hands.
These numbers are genuinely very inspiring, and given that you both are in like 11th and 12th grades, I can't even imagine what lies ahead in terms of the future, because 700 is a very impressive number in terms of providing those 700 people with a home or a roof or a sleeping adobe. Talking about the scaling up itself, because when you start getting numbers, when you start getting impact, you really also look at how I grow this into a bigger dream or a bigger mission. And I'm sure when both of you started, Ravi specifically, when you had this idea after your motivation from Ukraine and what's happening in Gaza, and also the situation of homelessness in India, you did think about scaling this up a lot, right? I want to hear on that in terms of how because what we've seen so far is that projects like these, which are taken up by youngsters like yourselves, they often face a crisis of scaling up. They often face a crisis of how to and where to extend this particular mission. Do you plan to scale up to have more of impact through this initiative, like through Hope Jackets? And if you plan to scale up, I want to know the plan about, like what the plan is about. Any of you could take it actually.
Yeah, so scaling up is definitely on our radar because the more we grow, the greater impact we can create, you know. So our plan involves building more partnerships with mills and factories to secure like a steady supply of fabric waste, because this fabric waste really contributes to lowering our costs so that we can support more people. Also, partnerships with NGOs and corporate CSR programs to secure funding really helps us, for example.
Great.
Additionally,
Yeah, yeah. Please, Roshni, feel free to add.
Additionally, as Javi has already covered all of the important logistics, I would definitely like to talk about the production of the fabric. So we're also going to be working up on setting up more of these units and workshops. So as I mentioned that right now we're going to self-help groups. So definitely further in our view, we'd want to go to these women who are even more affected. The self-help group women, of course, they do have some amenities and they do have some resources that are available for them to use. However, there are also women out there who have so much talent and creativity, as we have seen, which we would like to reach. So, therefore, definitely having more units and workshops where women can train and produce these jackets. Moreover, we're definitely looking into more technologies that will help us streamline our process and also make them more efficient, as we are starting to see greater amounts of donations that are required by certain NGOs. And that's probably our goal.
Right, because I think that's actually a very impressive goal. Only aspect of it being that both of you are now moving to your colleges, both of you are gonna head to your higher studies, and look for building your life up in terms of the future. So where do these hope jackets land in that entire plan of action?
So, sorry. So Fabrecreate, I mean, it's always going to be my baby, you know. And even if I'm having to focus on college for like a few, like 2, 3 years, maybe, I'm gonna keep checking back on this. And even if I'm not properly running it, I have two other siblings and two other cousins who are very, very um, also involved into this, or they're getting involved into this. I'm trying to get them involved into this, and they're realizing the impact and how these children are affected and how they're privileged. So they're also enthusiastic about this, or I'm trying to make them enthusiastic about this, and they're definitely going to be running this when I'm a little bit busy in the future.
I'm sure because I think conversations like this, also me sitting with you, 8B's going ahead in association with Fabrecreate, also sort of promotes that word out. It takes that word out for people, more and more people to join in, which also reminds me, Roshni, talk to me about the team that you have. How do you manage, how do you distribute responsibilities, who all are there, your volunteers? Little brief about that maybe.
Of course. So, as I'm sure we all know, Javid is our founder. He is the person he came up with the inspiration of this project, and he was really driven towards it. I still remember how I joined Fabricate. In fact, I had come to Javid's house just to meet him. He was back from Switzerland. I was all eager and excited, and he starts talking to me about this project, about all of the implicities, about all of the complexities that he's facing. And I just could not stop myself, but my head was having so many light bulbs just going on and off, on and off. And me, Javier, and our mentor, like Javier, I and my mentor, we all three of us sat down and we decided that, oh, this can be used here, this can be used here. And I think that was the point when Javier and I realized that, wow, not only are we a sister and a brother duo, but we could be a great team in achieving this. Other than this, we have a lot of ambassadors that can be seen on our website. We currently Javier handles most of the logistics behind the actual operations that go on. While since I'm in India currently and I do plan to study in India for my further education too, I'm taking care of more of the field work in terms of what's going on over here, how we have to distribute jackets, getting in touch with NGOs and organizations. Other than this, we have numerous ambassadors who come and assist us in our field drives where we have to go and donate these jackets so that we can make sure it's more efficient and it's done in a better way. We also have ambassadors who do field work for us out of city if we're not able to go due to our exams, because we really want to make sure that just because of our own schedules we're not depriving any child of this jacket, of this warmth that they can actually achieve through our jackets.
Wonderful, because it is truly said that it takes a village to raise a child. It takes more than a village to actually transform that child into becoming an individual, becoming a responsible individual of the society. And I think if you sort of solve these basic crises like homelessness, like in education, like giving them a future where they can be aware and educated about themselves, I think that's a wonderful way to go ahead with it. In all of this, what pops up in my brain in terms of this entire discussion is also what activity that we've been doing, right? So 8Bs is distributing, as I've already told our audiences, that 8Bs is associating with Fabrecreate, and Fabrecreate is distributing over 250 jackets with us through our partner NGOs across states. I want to know, how did you come to find 8Bs and how did this idea come into existence? Talk to us a little more about the motivation to join the 8Bs platform.
Of course. So, essentially, one thing that both of us had seen was a recurring theme in our work was altruism and kindness. And personally, I think both of those goes hand in hand. It's so important because an act of kindness is almost always altruistic in nature. So, as I'm sure the audience already knows, ADP's whole like core is about kindness, about change makers, and that's where the idea of collaborating with 8Bs came. Our shared belief of creating a meaningful impact through kindness towards any society and any community that is not as that has some issue that needs to be advocated for or has some issue that needs to be helped in. So over there, we have been following your work for an extremely long time, and we're deeply inspired by your ability to connect these change makers with the organizations and NGOs, and to contribute to making a better world. So, like I mentioned, we are trying to, like Jevi and both of us mentioned, that we are trying to scale up in terms of what we can do. We're trying to make sure that our impact is not only confined to one area, but we're trying to get this jacket to as many children as possible. And we really do feel for this reason, because of our shared values, 8Bs was the perfect platform for us to reach to new locations where we had not even thought of. However, now we know we're making a meaningful impact even in those regions.
I'm super happy, and on the behalf of 8Bs, I think I'm super proud as well to be associating with young change makers like you. Javid, I'm going to ask you a very personal question here, but I'm sure both of you have been on the field. Both of you have come across instances of kindness and compassion and altruism, as Roshni mentioned. And I think it is very interesting to note that projects like these, initiatives like these, really find their basis in the idea and acts of kindness. Do you have any examples from on the field? Maybe where some women must have walked to you or told you something,
Yeah.
or some children must have shared their experiences, if you want to share with our audiences.
Yeah. So, as you know, kindness is the foundation of everything that we do at Fabrecreate, and obviously what you guys do at 8Bs. And joining 8Bs, it felt like a natural step to amplify our efforts and the idea of collective impact to work together to make a difference. Anyways, kindness is what drives us, and it's the reason that we keep going despite all the challenges. So I remember there was this girl. So it's like one story that's going to stay with me forever. There was this girl I met during the first distribution of the Hope jackets in Delhi. It was cold, she was shivering, and she was wearing like a thin dress and socks, no shoes. And when we gave her like the Hope jacket, her smile was unforgettable. Like she hugged me like she was jumping around, happy. And it's when I realized that the jacket wasn't just keeping her warm physically, but also it was giving her a sense of joy, security, and like a lot of comfort. So it just enforces that the smallest of steps are probably the most important, and that kindness can be just as simple as sharing warmth with someone else, and yet its impact is unimaginable.
Absolutely wonderful. Roshni, would you like to add any of your personal experiences on that, since you've been on field as well?
Yes. Um, I think one of the experiences that I hold very dear to my heart till date is when, in fact, Javi was also with us in this field drive that we had gone to. Luckily, he was in town. We had gone to Don Bosco Shalim, and I still remember when we were going, the streets were flooded. So we were like, oh, we feel so bad. Just imagine how good this jacket would be. And I remember taking videos of the water. And we reached Don Bosco Shallium, and we'd actually only gone there, of course, to donate these jackets, but also to get a lot of real-time feedback, because this was the first set of jackets that we were like finally starting to see that we were like really increasing our scale up. So we were like, let's get a good feedback from from these children. So I remember Jaivir and I walking in with our little bags of the Fabrecreate jackets, and there was a swarm of children around us, and they were also eager and enthusiastic to know about what were in these bags. And we take out a jacket and we make the youngest child over there wear it. He was a very, very cute child, I must say. He was very excited, very enthusiastic. He kept on asking us questions. He was a very bubbly child in general. So we make him wear the jacket, and he's already really happy that, oh my God, I have such a stylish jacket on me, and I'm feeling so nice about it. I'm feeling so warm. And then Javi goes and says, "Mujhe aapko ek cheez dikhana, like I want to show you one thing." And he goes and he removes the Velcro and it goes all the way down to his knees. And the smile that he had across his face, the way he was so enthusiastic, telling all of his friends that, oh my God, ye dekho, like look at this, look at what this jacket is and how it's encompassing. He put on the hood and he just ran out into the rain, and it really seemed like he was having the time of his life. And it just felt so amazing how a simple jacket that was made out of recycled material, can make such a like drastic impact on a child's life. It really just put me in a moment of awe in that moment itself.
That's actually very awe-inspiring because I think it's these children, they have no filters. They are really showing their reactions and expressions, what it is as they feel it. And I think when you get in touch with them, when you really, because I think what aidbees also experiences through these partner NGOs that we're working with, is that level of understanding and receiving kindness in a very jolly manner. Because I think the way kindness gets to a successful platform is when there is reciprocity as well, when there is act of service, and when there is an acceptance of that act of service. So it's really wonderful and really awe-inspiring to hear both of these experiences, which reminds me as well that, 8Bs and Fabrecreate both function on this fundamental idea that kindness can transform the world, even through a hope jacket or even through a platform where you can come and help organizations, where you can come and help NGOs to donate, to support, to volunteer for them. I'm going to talk a little more in terms of like, I really hate to bring this discussion to almost an end, but I think we are also at hand dealing with the problem of homelessness, of underprivileged children, right? And I think before we close this discussion off, I want to know both of your thoughts in terms of how hope jacket can be the new and a kinder way forward to those problems like homelessness, like lack of facilities for these children. How hope jackets can be the new and kinder way forward, if you could just throw some light on that.
So we absolutely think that these hope jackets definitely can be a very, very important tool and a very, very great way to provide aid to these homeless children and the underserved children. So, I mean, I think this is something we really have to establish, but Hope Jackets are definitely more than just a product. It's not just a product that we made, it's not just a product we manufactured and we gave. It is honestly a lifeline for any individual who is facing the harshest of realities. As Javi had mentioned, his main inspiration was seeing the news about the conflicts that were happening globally, seeing those children suffer. And that's like honestly a word that we have never been exposed to. So it's definitely a lifeline that we are trying to throw to these individuals. For people experiencing homelessness, this warm jacket is not just about clothing. It's honestly a source of survival. It's a shield against the cold and a reminder that somebody out there cares for them. And that is so important in this world. I remember one of the drives that we did was during the monsoon season in Delhi itself, and we saw so many children in the underpasses trying to protect themselves from this rain, yet they were shivering because of the amount of cold winds that they were facing. And just that jacket, it served as like such a great tool for them. For the underserved children, these jackets provide a lot more than warmth. They honestly a sense of dignity, a sense of hope, a message that they are not forgotten and that they are not alone, and that their lives and that their dreams matter. Lastly, I think the third group that we focus on is refugees. So when it comes to these refuge children or individuals, I think it has the most profound impact on these individuals, because they are people who have lost everything. They've lost their homes, their belongings, sometimes their sense of security, and most of the time any sense of family that they had. So providing them with this hope jacket is a way of us saying, the Fabricate team saying, that we see you and that we stand with you. And it's a very small step forward that we're taking to restore their sense of humanity and helping them to rebuild their lives in the face of adversity that they honestly should not be facing.
Lovely. That's actually very good to start off with, because I think acknowledgement and the understanding of the problem at hand is the first step to grow an initiative like Fabricate and Hope Jackets. And I think I really like the fact that you mentioned that through these Hope Jackets you are providing a hope of a future, of a safer and more secure future to these children, rather than more than children, also refugees, also women. So I feel like I am sitting here listening to you and very proud of you for this, because uh, as somebody who has looked at the world and looked at the crisis around us in a very critical light, I do feel that initiatives like Hope, initiatives like Hope Jackets, and initiatives like Fabricate are the way forward because they are touching the lives of people on ground. Javier, you have anything to add to that in terms of how
Yeah, just a
you
little bit.
imagine this? Yeah.
So, as Roshni already mentioned, the Hope Jackets are like a symbol for kindness, but instead of just instead of just providing warmth to these children and safety and comfort, I think the Hope Jackets itself also symbolizes something which is compassion. So they can be seen as the start of something small, and how a small impact, a small effort of a small team of young kids really really empower these and make these children feel much better, um, and symbolize compassion, and it can serve as a more thoughtful way to tackle issues of displacement and poverty, while reminding all of us that we have a shared responsibility to take care of these people that are the most vulnerable.
Yes, absolutely. I agree to that. And I think younger generation is the torch bearer to sort of show that light further, to show that light further into a more kind, into a more human, into a more compassionate world, as you were speaking. I have had a lovely time knowing your story and discussing your story with you. And I think our audiences are also going to be really, really impressed with it. Don't forget to check out their story and check out the blog that we've done on them. Aidbees has covered them as kindness change makers. So you will find their story on all our platforms, on our social media channels as well. Before we close this discussion, both of you have any one liners to end as a message to our audiences watching this?
Yeah, I'd say I want to remind everyone that even small actions can create a significant change. And when you support sustainable practices, you're contributing to a world where we care for both people and the environment and the planet. I encourage everyone to join us on this mission, whether it's through donations or raising awareness, or even if it's just like rethinking how you approach like fashion and waste. I think together we can create a future where fewer children are displaced and where sustainability is truly integrated into the world.
Wonderful. Roshni, your turn.
I think the only like it's honestly my learning from this project, and I would say that it's really important for us. Like we should really take these small projects that individuals are doing as a reminder that this world is a lot bigger than what we see, and there's a lot more happening than what's in our perception and view. And if you have something that you believe in really strongly, then find a way to advocate for it and find a way to be a change maker for it, as Javid has done with his idea of textile waste, and as I have incorporated with the idea of empowering these women. Because trust me, that change you make today may not seem significant, but it is so significant in another individual's life.
Absolutely agreed to that. And because these small, small steps, you can't change the world overnight. You cannot You cannot transform anybody's life in some hours, or in some minutes, or some seconds. It takes a lifetime to transform a life that is not maybe connected to you, but also you feel sympathetic towards them, you feel compassionate towards them. And I think 8Bs is also on its mission to promote kindness, to promote compassion. And Fabrecreate is a wonderful add-on, is a wonderful plus one to that sort of family that we are creating around kindness. We're really happy to have you on board with us. We're really proud of the great work that you're doing. And I appeal this to the audiences listening to us. Do watch this, and as much as you watch this, also do promote and do educate yourself about this problem at hand, being it the textile wastage, being homelessness, being it, sustainability, or even employing these women or employing underprivileged sections of the society. Because as Roshni and Jaivir both have mentioned today here, small actions do take some time, and small actions only can lead to a bigger change. We're really proud to be featuring Hope Trackets and featuring Fabrecreate at the 8Bs platform. And thank you so much, Jaivir and Roshni. I hope you had a wonderful time sharing your story on
Yeah.
this platform.
We
And
did.
I wish all the success to you. I wish all the great things for Hope Jackets and Fabrecreate going ahead in the future. And someday, I will see you as the next big thing in terms of maintaining sustainability,
The
and
goal.
as the next big thing in terms of maintaining sustainability and also providing social welfare at the forefront. Thank you, everybody, for joining in. Do subscribe to 8Bs. You know the bell icon. And please like and share your comments in the comment section below. We will see you for another podcast. Till then, bye bye and have a great time.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.